Hey, everybody, welcome to the Ginge and Pedro show. I'm Ginge, of course. We got alongside me my boy Pedro.
How are you doing, guys?
What's up, Pedro? And our special guest today, Riley Weber, Rip the Falcon, TICINC. Riley, Rip,
What's
how you doing,
up?
bro? Riley is an animator, a comic creator, a penciler, inker, pretty much all around whatever you need, he can do it.
Nice.
So, yeah, Riley, tell us, bro. Tell us about yourself. How'd you get into this mess?
I'm 31. I was born and raised in LA and moved out to Eugene in the middle of the 2000s and kind of, yo, what is up?
Take this.
Um, I've been self-taught as an artist for up until college. I took a couple of community classes in community college, so didn't really have like fine art fundamentals, and so I had like a lot of gritty art, like bad proportions but like detail, like Todd McFarlane, Greg Capullo kind of stuff. Hey, Jake. And so like my art was always like shitty, but in a good way. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like I was obsessed with like just nitty gritty inking, and so all of my like drawings had like tons and tons of lines, and that's just kind of been the motif of my style.
Right. We'll definitely pull up some of your work. I would absolutely agree with that. Your style is really interesting. I don't know that I have anybody right off the top that I compare it to with the way you do. Obviously a drawing is just a set of lines put together in a certain way, but you do sort of craft images with lines in a really interesting way where it all kind of comes together. It is sort of fine artsy in a way. It's got that sort of abstract. You have to kind of look at it as a whole, or you might miss parts of it possibly.
I think the reason why is because I hated pencil. Hey, Hunter.
Yeah,
I didn't draw with pencil. I drew with pen for like 10 straight years. Like every sketchbook from like 2008 to like 2014 was just nothing but like drawing with a pen. So, I was used to like just drawing over mistakes.
I got what you mean, and that actually like helps you develop more like a shape language.
Yeah.
Because when you were like drawing over mistakes, you have to cover the mistakes. So you have to be okay. How can I accommodate the shape for it to look good while covering the prior?
It's honestly like I think an inker's secret is like just cover it with black.
Yeah.
Like if I do everything on paper, like I have a big scanner, and so I just print it in non-photo blue and then ink on top of it. And then if I screw up, I just put a little black on there.
Yeah, exactly. It's spotting. Oh man, like I became a full digital artist for the last, I have to say, 8 years.
So oh wow!
I kind of miss the paper and pencil thing. So I mean, once the situation changes, like, cause I moved out of my city, so I'm moving back in the city by the end of the year. Maybe I'll start like drawing analogically again. And
yeah,
I'm looking forward to that because
I had a tax season, and it was like February 2020, and so I got Clip Studio EX. Love Clip EX. It's awesome. It's my favorite.
Yeah.
And then I also got a Huion Canvas 16 Pro.
Oh, sweet.
And I was enjoying that tablet, but it wasn't perfect. It had like driver problems, and I had to restart it all the time. But I dropped it, and it's dead. I mean, like you can use it, but it's like so noticeably like fuzzy. It's and like I have this Intuos Pro I got from Full Sail.
Oh, okay.
And, I've had that thing forever. And yeah, it's pretty much lasted me right when I was going to have the whole animation and everything.
Yeah.
Oh man. I basically saved my ass by having this old tablet. Screenless. It doesn't have like the awesome display, but once I've like animated for like a year, it's like now I have that muscle memory, and I could look, you know, the screen that way.
So okay, so you have been animating for 2 years, correct?
Yeah, 1 year and 8 months.
Nice. So, and you mentioned Full Sail, so that's where you learned to animate, or were you like?
No, I tried their program, and they didn't have any art classes at all until 3DF, which is 3D Foundations.
Yeah.
And so I took like 6 months of like PowerPoint and checklists, useless, dumb. Like no one would get anything out of these classes.
Yeah.
And they make you take that so that you pay a lot of money. And then you get 3DF, which is just like a mountain of lectures. Like it's a 4-week class, and you basically don't go back at all. So this is the beginner class, and then they give you like 40 hours of tutorials.
Wow.
And if you don't get it, well, you're fucked. So I dropped out.
Damn. Like, I don't know, because I used to own an animation school back in my former life, and the program was 2 years. The first year was classical animation, second year CG, like no fluff, it's not needed. Like you can learn PowerPoint at home.
Yeah,
and that's one of the things like I like to discuss with people who want to dabble in animation. Like I've been doing this for 20 years. Nowadays, there's no reason to go to school.
Yeah, I basically got my MacBook. And I got the tablet and everything, and I spent whatever money that I got from taxes. Like I got, I don't know if I'm able to show it off. This Workforce 7710.
Nice.
Awesome. I actually,
hell yeah.
I'm able to scan.
Sweet.
Get some, like actual traditional inks.
All right.
I love this thing. It's like, it's perfect for working digitally and traditionally because like, you know, I'm able to just be really flexible. If I want to animate completely digital, I can, but I have a light box, and I've sent in a couple of animations to Ginge where it's just like paper that I scan, and then I digitally color it. So if I can, if I feel like being traditional, I could do classical animation, or I could do like, you know, digital traditional animation.
Well. So okay, regarding information, I don't know. I might get like very inquisitive about it, and when you can tell me when to stop. So
don't be shy.
What kind of what are your sources in regards of how you actually learn the craft of animation? Like,
so I did a lot of sketchbooking, a ton of it, and so one thing I did a lot of was I would read comics and draw the panels, and you know, try to break it down, like almost like trying to figure out a formula to a math problem. And so there were a lot of different artists that had different techniques in motion, and one of the biggest ones that really helped me kind of motion was Osamu Tezuka's Astro Boy.
Yes.
I have like this Dark Horse collection of 1 and 2. Yeah, I redrew that book over and over and over. I could pull mine out, but you know, it's in the shelf. But like just sketching, you know, just drawing like I actually have an example of what I mean because I was doing it for an exercise.
Yeah, it's funny that you mentioned Osamu Tezuka, because Osamu Tezuka was inspired by Disney films.
Yeah. That's why the figures are the way they are.
There's the pedigree there.
Here we go.
Rip writing on the wall like Russell Crowe.
So like this kind of stuff is what I would kind of learn the fundamentals from.
Yeah, so basically you're focusing on line of action and anticipation, action, reaction, like the principles of animation.
So like by the time I actually started animating, I had so many sketchbooks of like, you know, Rip flying in a cycle, you know, basically like doing a walk cycle in one drawing, or like a flying motion or something. I did so many of those where I just drew the follow through and like the principles of animation in a sketch that when I started playing with actually like drawing animation,
Yeah.
That and comic books, it just sort of felt natural, you know?
Okay, so I'm not really calling you my student. I'm just saying, like, this is what I used to tell my students what to look for as in sources for what basically encapsulates like the magic of what animation is. So
I have it.
Richard
Got
Williams
it.
Animator Survival Kit.
Taught me how to lip sync.
Yeah. Cartoon animation by Preston Blair.
Oh,
Very-
that one is on cartoonsupplies.com.
Yeah, very important book. And actually, if you want to see the evolution of why character design looks the way it looks in animation, this is the one. And
Okay.
the Bible for me that has nothing to do with animation, but basically focuses on motion.
You want to
Animals in
see my
Motion
Bible? It's right next to me.
by Edward Muybridge. So basically, this extrapolates biomechanics from animals to humans, and this was done in like 1910 or something, 18 something. So it's very cool because they grabbed a kid with spina bifida, so he had to walk on all fours. So he took plaques of this kid, like walking on all fours, and say, okay, so these are the muscles of humans. This is what happens in a horse. So
Yeah.
it's horrible, but it basically makes you, extrapolate the information. 'Cause
Break
muscles-
it down into simplicity. Yeah.
Yeah, because muscles
like,
only do one thing.
I-
Muscles only contract. So you're always gonna have juxtaposing muscles for different motions, like bicep, tricep.
Right.
And-
I learned anatomy through kind of like how to draw the Marvel way style, where in all the anatomy part, they just break it down into the sphere, the cone, and the cube.
Yeah.
And all of those shapes, just like you build everything. That's why in Blender, those are the three shapes you use to build modeling with.
Yeah, exactly. Jake.
Yeah, that's
the
fascinating.
1800s.
Honestly,
Yeah.
that's quite a while ago.
Yeah, so that's the thing. So I'm really interested to see what's your Bible is. I mean, every brain is different, and I love to see what makes people like brain click.
Speed up.
Nice.
This is my Bible.
Nice.
I have had this since 2007. This is my favorite art book of all time because it's not about art. It's more about how to use art.
Mhm.
I use this in animation too because of like all the principles of telling a story visually.
Yeah. Exactly.
So it's like, even though it says making comics, you can basically use that to make movies or animation or anything visual.
Yeah.
It's like it's just storytelling. It's basically a director's book, and like as a composer of shots and things like that, or like a pacing and stuff. Like every secret that I've learned in making comics, I got from that book. That's my favorite art book I own, and it's the most beat up book I own.
Nice. That's how you know when people use books, like when the books look just like beat up and depleted.
I was considering like buying a brand new copy to like make it look nicer, but then I'm like, no,
don't
do that.
Actually, like I use a book for reference, especially for posing, which is the book from Tarzan, the Disney movie. You know who Glenn Keane is, right?
Who again?
Glenn Keane.
I haven't heard of him.
Glenn Keane is just the best animator in the world. That guy animated the eagle in... Not yet. Don't focus on my mug yet.
Sorry, Pedro.
That guy... This is heavy. Wait. That guy animated the eagle in Bernard and Bianca, like the two mice, and when they went to Australia.
Okay.
Like, that eagle animation was made by Glenn Keane, and then he animated Tarzan.
Oh wow!
And how beat up? Yeah, how beat up this book is, because this is like reference for posing, like dynamic. Is he was not only like interpreting the human anatomy, but he was incorporating acting. Like Tarzan thinks he's an ape. So what would that do to the human physique? Like he walked on his knuckles. I don't know if you
Yeah,
can see
Vern
this.
Hogarth was like the guy who did Tarzan. He wrote the best anatomy books I've ever read.
Yeah, yeah. I don't know. Like I don't know. In animation school, people are not really fans of Hogarth. I'm not speaking ill of him, but he was not the go-to because for animation, Born Hogarth was a little bit stiff.
Okay.
But the Tarzan comic books by Bern Hogarth are amazing. Like I'm not really like bashing the guy. It's just that like
Yeah.
I did take like formal animation training.
I
And we were
hear
working
Frank
to
Frazetta a lot. Like
yeah.
people like to talk about Frank Frazetta all the time.
Yeah, there's this guy, and he used to be a teacher at CalArts when CalArts meant something.
Yeah.
Called Glenn Vilppu.
I haven't heard of him.
Glenn Vilppu is like the live drawing teacher for animators.
Yeah.
His books are a little bit more cryptic, but he really encompasses biomechanics as in how to interpret line of action. Because normally when people say like line of action, they think it's like the spine or the column. No, the line of action encompasses the motion. So for example, if you have like an archer and you want to do a quick like 5-second sketch of an archer, you won't focus on the spine of the archer. You focus on the hand and the foot. So that line will that curve line will give you the tension of the body.
I was so used to drawing from the middle, drawing that arc, you know, from the spine.
Yeah, exactly. So the line of action, most of the time, it's like 60% of the time, all the time, is the spine. But you really have to analyze what the body's doing.
Yeah.
Where the tension is, where the extension of the compression is. And sometimes that line will not be on the spine.
Interesting. I always thought it was. That's something I did not know.
Yeah.
Jake says Vilpu's use of a Snickers bar to draw anatomy was great.
Yeah,
I'm familiar
exactly.
with that.
Yeah, it's like the peanut shape. So you have two masses, like the torso and the hip. So if the torso, the upper side of the peanut turns to one side, and the lower side turns to another side, what happens to the midsection? How do you convey that torsion? That happens to the human body. So that was one of the ways he explained. And then you move that peanut in 3D, and then you have the body moving in 3D. So it's a little bit more cryptic. But dude, once it clicks, it's like, oh, okay, I can animate now.
I just started understanding perspective like a light turned on. You know, I learned 3D like, you know, within the last 5 years, like it kind of clicked, but like perspective was always very hard. And then, you know, it's almost like rote memory by just like looking at perspective books over and over and over and over, and then seeing it like artists doing it. It's one thing to look at like Perspective for Comic Artists by David Chelsea a million times.
Right,
and then like watching someone actually draw and then like, oh, you know, when I saw someone do like a perspective grid, you know, where like the entire thing is a grid, and then it's like, wait a minute, that's outside, like that's in my room, like that's everywhere.
Yeah.
And then that all of a sudden made sense.
Yeah, the thing like perspective is hard because it's a fight.
Yeah.
You're working on a 2D plane and you want to make the illusion of 3D.
Right.
And the techniques to convey 3D are actually your eyes, which is a 60 cone angle. How to convey depth in that 60 cone angle. When you get out of that cone, that's when things start to get distorted. Like for example, if you do a 3-point perspective, it's more evident.
It's two planes over here and then one over here.
And a vertical plane. It'll be
or down below.
Yeah. So basically, if you get out of that 60 degree cone, you start to see like a lot of distortion.
Yeah.
Because the real world,
like a fisheye lens.
Yeah, exactly. Because in the real world, things don't go into the horizon to one point. That's the illusion.
Right.
So that's one of the things that really helped me. Like, okay, I'm in this 60 cone area. So how do I place the camera to make it look good? What are the areas where you can actually cheat? Because Yeah, I mean, doing like a perfectly done perspective drawing gets tedious after a while, and then you start like learning shorthands to make it look, even though you're not really making the taking the measurements. Like it's big, big.
I like buildings like from Susomu Nihai Biomega
Mhm.
and Jiro Masamune and Ghost in the Shell, like, you know,
Yeah,
very cyberpunk kind of dystopic, like warped buildings.
yeah, the whole
You
mega
know,
city. Yeah,
something about the way, you know, manga portrays cities is just like loose
yeah,
and really like kind of bent.
yeah,
They don't like they're not like you know, like the Watchmen from Dave Gibbons or something, where everything
yeah,
is like very structured in Metropolis and stuff.
yeah. I mean, and they also use a lot of atmospheric depth, you know,
Yeah,
because as things go in the background, they're less defined. So, and also like, well, not so much in manga, but in anime, they help themselves a lot with camera movement, like
yeah. I
so
noticed
much.
that, you know, I was just looking at some of Record of the Lodos War, just, you know,
Yeah,
just because I was talking about it.
yeah.
And I'm watching some of the camera movements, and a lot of the time when I watch these older anime, they'll draw one frame and
hmm
they'll pan for like maybe 10 seconds.
Yeah, exactly. I mean,
It's
Record of Those
like
War was
they
kind of
cheat
a
in a
trap.
way that makes it almost
Yeah,
not cheating. It's like
yeah,
art cheating, you know?
yeah. And I think with Record of Those War, it's very interesting that they trap themselves in a design not made for animation. Like those were really difficult to draw characters, and normally when you want to animate well, you simplify the character so you can like make the reproduction seamless.
Right.
And Record of Velosaur was so intricate with the armor and whatnot.
And the
Yeah,
hair
exactly.
too.
So that's why I have a like my thing is mech. So a lot of
Yeah.
people say like, oh, you like Gundam or you like Macross. I like both. Like I'm really not. I'm promiscuous like
Yeah,
that.
I haven't watched it, but you know, I went
hmm
to my this closing comic shop and I wanted to buy one VHS, and it was Fatal
hmm
Fury. And
Nice.
then he gave me all of the VHS, and I had to actually like be selective about it because it was just a whole store.
Yeah.
And so I took
Nice.
like every mecha I had, and now I have like uh, a lot of Macross 2 and a lot of
hmm
Robotech.
Yeah. I mean, Macross and Robotech are not the same thing, but there's like that like Harmony Gold bought the rights to 3 different animes and
Yeah, I
Robotech.
mean, like I hear that it's
Yeah.
like a merge, like it's not
Mhm.
100% Macross.
Yeah. Macross is only the first season.
Ah, okay.
So in the others, in the other 2 seasons, you hear people talking about a Brick Hunter and Ray Fokker in retrospect, but it's completely different anime. They just like remade the scripts.
Right.
So if you really want to watch Macross, you have to look for the Japanese version, and anything that's called Macross is Robotech.
Yeah, Amazon Prime had Macross, but it was like some
Mhm.
other subtitle. It was a little
Yeah.
confusing of a title. It wasn't just called Macross. It was like
hmm
19 something.
Yeah, no, the thing like Macross is, dude, it's a lot of material. Like if you say like, oh, I'm gonna watch Gundam, okay, get ready to look start like around 6 months of your life.
I didn't watch the full movie, but I saw the opening like 15 minutes of Do You
hmm
Remember Love?
hmm
And it was so good. Like that first 10 minutes of Do You Remember Love was like one of the best like animated things I've watched.
hmm
It just opens up like kind of like Rogue One a little
Yeah.
bit.
James, what
Okay.
do you think, man?
Yeah, no, I'm loving it, man.
Yeah.
Just listening to y'all talk animation. Riley also does comic book art though, and he's got his own book, Rip the Falcon. We've heard him mention Rip a few times as a character.
Yeah,
Riley, please,
it's
man.
online. Globalcomics.com. You can read the whole issue.
All
Pull
right.
that up.
What's up, Lola?
Well, in high school, everybody had to have a character. Everybody had to make their own little, you know, mascot.
Yeah.
And I wanted to do like my version of what I thought was cool. It was a superhero that wasn't like, you know, a guy in a cape. And so, you know, I like Sonic. I'm a huge Sonic fan. And so, like, my favorite animal is Peregrine Falcon. And
Oh,
then
cool.
you know, I sort of started off with the Sonic vibe, where, you know, Rip was basically like the exact same as Sonic, and then I worked on it for like 12 years before it's like this.
Okay.
And so he went from like making bad jokes, like in your face, grandma, to like being this spaghetti western kind of lone wanderer, kind of sullen, sad, weary traveler kind of guy. So it went from campy to like super Django inspired. And you know, like I really felt like the more I drew the character, he was always like traveling. He was never like, you know, he didn't have like a group of like friends to defend from like robots like Sonic. It was a lot more of like a like, you know, the man with no name, fistful of dollars kind of character.
Nice.
And so, you know, that's really what the story became, and it just evolved over like 12 years before I made that comic started.
Do you mind if I show a couple of the pages?
Yeah, I'd love that.
Right on. Yep.
Let's do it.
Yeah, so
Also very trippy. It's got a psychedelic rock vibe to it too.
Nice.
Yes.
So
Absolutely.
okay, that's another question I'll always ask. What would be the best soundtrack to read Rip the Falcon?
I would say Zune. Burial Mounds. It's a small album. You can get it on YouTube. Zune. Z-U-N. And it came out in like 2016. I was listening to that a lot when I was writing the comic and drawing it and everything. It's like these fat bass, like just juicy, chewy bass lines. And it's like you know,
it's crunchy.
I feel like Rip is not really a drug, like it's not really intended to be a trippy comic, but it's very desert and it's very very psychedelic.
So I can do like Caius or like
of
Death
Orange
Metal,
Goblin or
nice,
you know, that kind of stuff.
I'm a big Orange Goblin fan.
Yeah, I
love
honestly,
that
Orange Goblin was where he started, and then I found out Queens of the Stone Age was Caius first.
Yeah,
and then that kind of just sped into a whole rabbit hole, and then Sleep. Got really into Sleep.
Oh,
so
dude, yeah.
Sadly, the Global Comics, that's probably just my connection. It's I'll pull it up here. It's I'm stuck here. It's not Rip's fault, obviously.
Probably the website.
Yeah. Yeah. Do you like Global Comics though? How's that been?
Oh yeah, I mean, I like them because, you know, they give you really great biometrics. So, you know, it's a lot like YouTube's analytics. It's almost exactly the same as YouTube's analytics. And so you see how many people read, how often they read, and where they come from. And that's been the most helpful, like knowing my audience and what, like, yeah.
Okay.
It's not you, it's me.
No, I read that first as it's just you, Ginge. I was like, yeah, all right, fair.
Yeah, I think
I'm not a Global Comics, but it's
doing
Mexico.
the way I'm doing it, where you're releasing it for free and then you're like selling a print copy, it's great because you can get people to read the whole thing and get really into it and know where they're coming from. And then you can market to those same people because you can tell the traffic site. And so it's like, oh, I have a lot of Facebook fans, so let me make, you know, promotion on Facebook. And you know, I haven't even marketed my book that much, and I've already gotten sales. Like, you know, you can see on my timeline, you're not on my Facebook, but I've had people send me pictures of my books, and it's like, there's my friend who's got a daughter, and she's reading my comic, and it's like, I have a young person reading my comic. I'm like, that is amazing to me, you know? Like, I felt like proud as you could get when I had like a young person reading my comic that was made for adults, you know?
Absolutely.
Very
So, Pedro, I see you sort of looking around over there. You trying to pull that up? It's all good if we can't, because we have some of Riley's other art here we can talk about. But
No,
I actually animated it.
Yeah.
The sequel is the show now, so it's no longer a comic. I might do a comic as a spin-off, but
okay.
I'm doing the rest of the series as kind of like an episodic, like Usagi Yojimbo style of show.
Very
okay.
And you're doing this by yourself?
Yeah.
Wow.
You know, I'm able to do this full time, and you know, I'm getting a business. TICINC is going to be like an official thing, and yeah, I made this video in 4 months. Cast it in like 2 days. I had people just jumping on this, and
cool.
the second episode got cast in a day, and you know, it was just like getting bits and bits done over the course of 4 months, and I love this video, but I learned so many things not to do by making my first video.
I get you.
Do you mind if we go ahead and play it?
Yeah, I would love it. Let's do it.
Yeah, let's do this.
Yeah, get the full screen.
Especially getting some feedback from you guys.
Let me know if everybody can hear it out there in TV land. Hold on, actually, they might not be able to. Let me double check and make sure that
you share the audio. Yeah.
Yes, because
That's why. Okay, so I've been on Discord, and I have like regular people in my Discord server who can't hear my YouTube. That's probably why.
Yeah.
I don't share the audio.
That's a common mistake, man. Don't worry.
Okay, guys, here we go. Rip the Falcon, episode 1.
All right. Yeah, the mix was pretty bad on that part.
I've been watching Buffy here lately, so this intro reminds me of Buffy's theme song. So
I was looking up alternative rock, and I wanted to find something that had like a lot of guitar, and this was the closest thing that fit like the tone. I wanted like grunge, and this was German punk alternative.
Very punk.
Well done, my friend. You destroyed those monsters so easily. As you can see, they're a nuisance in this land. Myself and my brothers and sisters seek to rid the blight upon this land. Would you join us?
Do you have some shelter?
Yes. Come this way. My friends, this here is Rip. He is a new member, and embrace him with love.
Where's the cot?
It's in there. The big tent.
You want to help us end the suffering and wipe out these monsters?
I was just seeking some shelter. What is it with these monsters?
They've been popping up everywhere, attacking and swallowing the locals. They're mindless, soulless creatures of evil.
How did they show up?
There's a poisonous mushroom that villagers are using, and they become those monsters, Rip. Now that we're done eating, let's get to work. These must be rid of the earth, Rip. Without these monsters, then the people can sleep easy. We're coming into a town now.
Hey, you lot ain't welcome here. Get out of here.
You sound like you have something to hide. Are you eating poison?
What are you doing?
Men, search the houses.
I found them.
Good.
No.
Kill them.
Ugh.
Please, have mercy.
Mercy? How's this?
Thank you.
Obliged.
This is so good. Love it. Right on, bro.
Thanks, man.
Absolutely. I'll let the
Yeah, I really enjoyed the music at the end. I was hoping to use it somewhere.
I like it. I like it a lot. It's I wouldn't even really say over the top. It's sort of stylistic with the violence. Was there, I think I sort of know, but just to sort of ask, is there a reason you chose to sort of, you know, rip somebody's break their neck with a bird's foot, which is probably my favorite part.
Yeah, I you know, the violence and everything was just kind of like, you know, like trying to hit the story over the head with a hammer, you know, using it as a point. Like, you know, the story is kind of a personal story. I lived in a meth neighborhood, and it was devastating to live in. I had a guy try to rob me. It was like a really awful situation. I had, you know, like I fled to a motel twice because I was worried I was gonna, you know, get robbed.
Yeah.
And so, like, you know, the moral of the story is that there's just this vicious cycle. It's like a perpetuating cycle of just death. And you know, I wanted to express that, okay, so Rip is caught in the middle, and he's trying to find somewhere in the middle, but it's like black and white. So it's like when the guys want to stop the drugs through violence and kill the kids, what does he do? And it's like, it's kind of left to the audience to figure out, is Rip right? Did he do the right thing? Is he a monster for violently killing everyone? But it was just so personal of a story that I just wanted to capture how gritty it was.
Yeah.
You know?
Dude,
Like,
it gets me very excited because, I mean, you're working on your own, and obviously there are limitations to what you're doing. But it did remind me of the first season of The Simpsons.
Nice.
And this is a compliment, because normally people tend to say I'm a bit harsh with critiques, especially with animation. But it reminds me of the first season of The Simpsons, because what Matt Groening was doing in the first season of The Simpsons had nothing to do with what he was doing by season 5.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, it's the same characters, but the character design is a little bit more refined. The budgets get bigger, so it looks better. This is you working on your own. If you can do this on your own and you keep at it, if you can get a crew to work with you, work for you, in this case, dude, there's no limit to what can be accomplished. So
my plan is to eventually get to a point where I can hire a few helpers, you know?
Yeah.
Maybe not like, you know, like key animators, but like in-betweeners and some cleanup artists. That would be great.
Yeah. Another thing that would really help the episodes that are there, it's more of a sound issue.
Yeah, I noticed that.
You need a little bit more ambient sound.
You know, I've heard that, and one person in my server, shout out to Valthal, she mentioned that, and you know, I added ambient sounds in the second episode. We got a work in progress clip, and you know, there's little forest sounds, and I didn't have that in the beginning, but you know, I like quiet. I feel like it's the 13th note, so it's like, you know, I just kind of overdo it a bit.
Yeah, the thing with quiet is that quiet is a tool.
Yeah.
Like, for example, and I'm just picking up from what I remember from what I just saw. When Rip goes through this portal, he comes to this like savanna thing.
Yeah.
So it's like really open. So if you had a little bit of wind, that's all you needed, just a little bit of wind.
Well, I used
Pedro
a
reinforced.
soundbite, but it was low. You
Yeah,
know,
but
audio from YouTube audio,
yeah,
they give you like not the best stuff to work with.
yeah,
And
I know.
if you want to get good audio, you have to
Mhm.
pay a subscription to a website.
Yeah, but this is the thing I wanted to say about silence. Like, picture Rip is in the savannah, and he is waking up. You hear the sound of the wind, and then the wind stops. That is effective use of silence. In a
Yeah.
sense, okay, what happened, and then you get this character, and it would be like a little bit of note to make it more ominous because he's offering a helping hand, but he ended up being a zealot. I don't want to say a villain, but there's a little bit of zealotry in that character because he wants to reinforce something good with violence. And that's
Yeah.
the definition of a zealot. But just making the wind stop as this guy comes in will give you a note of eeriness, a note of strangeness. Like even though this guy's opening a helping hand to Rip, something's wrong.
Right.
So you
right.
know that's the because animation, 50% of animation is going to be sound. So did a really great job, man.
I am working with free royalty effects and
Mhm.
music, and
Yeah.
some of it was my own effects, and one of them was like the neck snap. That
Mhm.
was the voice
Yeah.
actor who did that. His name's Max Troutman,
Nice.
and he did the main character. His name is Gale, but it's not named out loud. But he's the villain, and you know he did like that neck snap, and I'm like, oh man, this
Yeah,
is
dude.
cool.
You know, Bone Breaking records 3 or 4 celery stalks and twist them.
Yeah, yeah. He said he used a bell pepper.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
That dude has a great voice. Really,
Yeah.
I
you got
think
lucky
he
for
was
that guy.
like honestly, like I love everybody in the whole thing, but he felt like a charismatic Disney villain.
Mhm.
You know, there's certain actors that have like a voice and a type, but you know, like he played it so charismatically. I could almost imagine him having like Scar's song or
Mhm.
something like that.
Yeah.
Right.
You know, he was definitely like, you know, a very charming villain. You know.
A very silky voice, and he could project. So yeah, it's very cool, man. Very
Yeah.
So how different is the Rip the Falcon issue #1 compared to the is it that old debate? Is the book better than the show, or
I think
was there a lot of difference?
it's unique. So the comic is a little bit more of introduction, I guess.
Mm.
You know, you get your basic layout of what Rip is, and you know his kind of motivation, and then you get to see him talk to people. You know, like in its setting that is like a normal setting, and you kind of ease into it like a slow burn. And by the time the action hits, it's like in the halfway point of the book. And it's just like, you know, like the movie Django or something like that, the
Yeah.
60s, 66 one. It's a simple setup, but it gives you kind of like a good introduction to what to expect. And then with the animation we just saw, we don't know anything about Rip. We just get like right into it, you know? Like he just sort of, you know, just is in the middle of like killing monsters, and then that's how we know him.
Mhm.
The art though is a lot more detailed in the comic, and then the animation I tried to get as much detail, but you know that, you know, animation has got to be, you know,
It's a
more
different beast.
features than less. So
Yeah. Okay, so what kind of software are you using to do the animation? And this is just
Clip
like
Studio Paint EX, and I was
Okay.
using a screen display tablet, the Huion,
Mhm.
but now I use the Wacom Intuos Pro from 2017.
Okay.
And
Yeah, I'm not being paid by these guys, but I mean it's my animation tool of choice. I use OpenTunes. Have you heard of that software?
yeah, it's the Ghibli Studio, the open source software.
Exactly.
I played around with it, and the UI is a little tricky. I'll
Yeah, it's
have to
very
like
cryptic.
actually watch a lot of tutorials for me to
Yeah.
actually understand it.
I
Because
have some examples of because the things like it's more akin to a classically trained animator, so it came easy to me.
yeah, I mean, I want to learn how to use an X sheet.
Yeah,
That's
exactly.
one of the things that I really want to know because I actually I have a bunch of animation paper and a
Yeah.
light box with pegs,
Mhm.
and yeah, like it's basically like that's how it looks, and
Yeah. So basically, you have your X sheet here,
yeah,
and you separate because normally, like people when they animate in Flash, or because I have Clip Studio too, and I tried animating in it, and it's just easier this way. But maybe it's because I have an animation background, you know.
sure,
But it allows you to
very
basically-
smooth. That smear is awesome.
Yeah, so this is like an animated short I did for a festival here called Nonviolent Action. It's basically a guy making how do you call that? Like an ice cone. Like,
Icy.
yeah, like an
maybe?
icy, but like a ninja. So
Yeah, what? It's not an icy. God, a snow cone. That's
snow
what it is.
cone,
He's
yeah.
making a snow cone.
yeah,
Love a snow cone.
so that's
I love the color palette. Looks
I
great.
like the motion. You got really awesome motion, like really good follow through.
yeah. So you see, like you can. This is like without the. You can turn on and off the effects, so you can actually see the.
You can composite inside OpenTunes.
Yeah, and you can import audio.
Get After Effects, so I could do all that stuff.
Oh, the things that with After Effects, and okay, let me just turn on After Effects now. I use OpenTunes and After Effects in tandem. Because
Yeah.
there are things that you can do in After Effects that you can't do in OpenTunes. Like you do
I
have
also,
like
I'm saving up for this grant thing, and
Mhm.
I'm hoping to get TV Paint 11.5.
okay, TV Paint 11.5 is really good, but if you learn OpenTools, you won't need to use TV Paint. I'm just like letting you know right now because I've worked in TV Paint, I've worked in Toon Boom, and OpenTunes. It's very close to Toon Boom. And the limitations that you can make vector layers, you can make raster layers. Like raster layers are my preference,
Yeah, same.
but okay. So basically, this was animated in OpenTools, and the effects were done in After Effects.
Oh wow, the lighting is great.
Yeah, and I'm working working on this trailer for my upcoming book. I think I have some legal stuff to fix.
Do you animate all this by yourself?
Yeah,
How long did this shot take you?
one day.
Oh my god. See, like this is where I want to be. I don't know what I need to do to catch up to you, but that's the goal.
20 years. I don't know. No,
Yeah.
it's not 20 years. Like in a year with a series of exercises, you can end up with the knowledge to animate. And
I'm kind of learning by like trial by fire kind of
Mhm.
thing. Like that video I made that we just watched. I
Yeah.
learned so many not to do's. You know, like for instance, the first thing I noticed was I was cheating on every background I could do.
Yeah.
Like it's just color. And like
Yeah.
there was no actual like sense of where I was or anything.
Mhm.
And so the other thing I noticed, I didn't plan any of my shots. I like storyboarded the first sequence and the
Yeah.
last sequence, but like for 2 minutes it was like no storyboards at all.
Mhm.
So, the second episode I'm working on, and I did a lot of drawings and storyboarding before I'd even animated anything. And then I recorded it first. So then I had like a track, and then I just like timed it to that.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like you can. It's better to know how much your scenes are gonna last before starting to animate, because that
Yeah,
actually gives you a good range of, okay, well, how many drawings do I need, and that's basically economy.
yeah.
So
Honestly, I'm learning the pipeline sort of backwards.
mhm,
Um,
mhm.
I'm like doing everything so I don't do it again, and I know that's kind of counterproductive to learn, but
Good, but
it's
being
it's
self-taught,
been
what you've
effective.
done is amazing. So don't worry about that. I mean, because I was talking about this with one of the discords I'm a part of, but like skills can be honed, but attitudes you're born with them. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah,
it's
I've
harder.
been taking this like a job. Like
Yeah, exactly.
even though like I'm not like at home sitting
Hmm.
around, I could like do anything I want. When I'm in this area, this is like work mode, and
Yeah,
then
exactly.
I have Xbox in the other room, and that's like if I want to actually like do nothing, I go watch TV. But this is
Hmm.
like this area. This is where I get stuff done, and
Yeah,
I spend like all day here, and then around 5 or 6 p.m. that's when I go outside over in my living room.
that's a ticket, man. Like for example, like when I used to teach animation, and more than likely you've seen these exercises. Like this is from my animation school days. Like
Right.
just teaching people how to isolate like the different animation principles. So you have like the bouncing ball, you have the
Could I ask for those of us that aren't as versed in the principles, what
uh,
is the gist of the bouncing ball technique here? What is it that you try to get across somebody when you have
okay.
somebody
So
do that?
when you're doing the bouncing ball, you're isolating three animation principles: line of action, uh, timing and spacing, and squash and stretch. So what's line of action? The line of action, it's how the animation traverses through the screen. And more than likely, life is expressed in arcs, ellipses, and circles. You rarely see like an angle in movement, unless you deliberately want to do that. For example, and that's why they're called principles, not rules. Like for example, if you're doing a spaceship and the spaceship like abruptly stops and moves in another direction, that's moving at an angle, but the animation is calling for that. But normally, if you see like a hand movement, I will you never move your hand like this, like completely straight. Like I have to a lot of muscles involved for it to look like this. Normally, you do an arc. So how you describe that arc in the trajectory of a ball, it would be two arcs, boing boing. Actually, half arc, arc, half arc, and then once you get that arc, that's your line of action. Now, how do you place the drawings within that line of action to convey the acceleration of the ball hitting the ground by gravity, the acceleration of the ball as it generates the energy from the bounce, how it loses energy through the arc, and how it gains energy again by gravity. So the position of your balls within the line of action will determine your timing and your spacing. So if in your mind you see, and you can say like boing boing, how much is that? Like maybe like 2 seconds, a second and a half. 2 seconds is 48 frames. Second and a half is 36 frames. I mean, if you animate at 24 frames per second.
Yeah.
So then that's your timing and spacing. That applies to a walk cycle, to somebody climbing a wall, somebody jumping, and that's the first exercise. Just captures those two. And the second exercise, you do a lift in the wind, and there you're gonna be isolating overlapping action and follow through. So, for example, as you move, things don't move at the same time always. Like for example, if you move your arm, the movement starts at the shoulder and ends in the hand. So in the leaf exercise, you start a movement at the bottom of the leaf, and it will traverse all the way up. It hasn't finished in the top when another one's starting. So it becomes that overlapping of the leaf doing this. And that's basically you go, it's like around 6 or 7 exercises. It will take you from 6 months to a year to do them all. And by the end of the year, you're already doing like lip syncing, I mean, you're not gonna be like Disney level, but
No.
you're gonna be well on your way to get to Disney level.
So I want to ask you about that because you
Mhm.
do a lot of animation. Do you publish any of this as a television show, or do any work as like a freelance like music video director or anything like that?
I've directed one animated series. The things like I graduated in animation and I got married and moved back to Panama. So all my skills were dumped into the advertising world.
Yeah.
So I have a lot of tuna cans and diapers with water simulation falling. Like pee's not gonna fall out. Like it's a lot of things that, I mean, it made a great living. I mean, it bought my house and whatever, but it's not really like I'm not really part of the animation industry per se, and that's why my style is so different. Because I rebelled against Flash. Like when I saw like how animation changed.
Yeah. I Don Bluth had talked a lot about that.
Yeah, I'm not a part of that.
Yeah.
And that's why I'm not like a marketable animator per se. Because if I go into
I kind of go by frame, and that's kind of what I've been like really trying to focus better on. And so it's like I totally am with you on that.
Yeah, because I mean, what I do for a living for real is like color correcting, editing videos. I direct, I illustrate. Animation wise, they call me only if it's like a specific thing they're looking for. I think I can show you one thing I did this year.
I think the director aspect of you, Pedro, explains the hat and glasses and even those headphones. You look like you're just coming back from a set. Like you've got an hour of your day to give us before you got to go back.
Here's your coffee.
Yeah, I have to wear the uniform. That's
right.
Yeah. You actually do look like a director on set right now.
Let me see. Okay, so I did this for a local campaign for the Tokyo Olympics.
Sweet.
Oh wow.
But I didn't handle the audio here. I only did the animation because they
How long
really
did this take you?
Like 9 days.
My God. I did 2 seconds for Mega Art Daniels, and I don't know if we have time to go into working for him.
Yeah.
We're coming up in an hour. Is it are we closing?
We can run. We usually go like 20 minutes over.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, can I talk a little bit about Stringy and Moppy?
Sure.
Yeah, please. Absolutely.
I did a few animations. I did 2 for my client and friend Mega R. Daniels from Mega Comics.
Yeah.
And they were little teasers for his print comic Sky Titans, and they were just basically adapting scenes from the comic, and they were 5 days each, and they were like 2 seconds.
Yeah, exactly. You have to learn how to not complicate yourself, and that goes a lot into scene planning.
I got a lot better every time I made a new video.
Yeah.
I mean, if you see the first promo I did, and then you see the second one, it's like amazing compared, how much better it got. And then I think the Rip the Falcon video, I worked on it over 4 months. So it starts off kind of iffy, but then by the end, I like the finale. I'm really proud of the finale.
No, dude, I liked it a lot. I mean, the little things I told you here and there are things to improve, not things to change. You know what I mean? Like, hey, dude, it's an amazing work, and done in 4 months by one person. It's just like, dude, like, the series I directed, like the age group like was from like 4 to 7 year olds, and it was like endangered species of like the Panamanian fauna that have a rock band. So it has a very distinctive look, and but I was very grounded by the character design because the character design was done by somebody who wasn't an animator. So it was a very, very difficult task, and you're not having that problem. So that's why I'm like very, very adamant to see what else is coming from Rip the Falcon now. Like,
hey Ginge, do you want to show the preview for episode 2?
Yeah, absolutely.
We got a little clip that we can show off that kind of gives you a
Yeah.
tease.
I'll have to pull it up through the Discord here. Oh, and I forgot to share the screen. I do this. Hold on.
Hot dang. It was sharing. Oh, you want to share in the audio?
The audio, that's what I meant.
Ah, okay. So that's why, Avarice. Okay, that's why.
All right, reopening Discord. Blame the ginger.
It's always a ginger who has no soul. It's your fault.
Yeah, I don't know.
I'll take it. I will take it. Okay, guys, let me get this. Share screen. Chrome. Share audio. All right. Can y'all see it?
Yep.
Yeah.
All right.
Are you here for a stay?
It's a little short, but you know, that's what I got so far.
Hey, dude, nothing wrong with that. And she's sufficiently creepy. I'm not sure
exactly.
That I don't know how long you plan on pausing on that smile,
No,
but I would
wanted
hold
to
it.
hold it. I wanted basically like you know, I wanted to make you uncomfortable.
Yeah. Do you know what that reminded me of? Ren and Stimpy.
Yeah, I can get that. I see
So-
where you're going with that.
So maybe like make a scene, like go back to Rip, and they go back to her like with a really detailed like pastel still of her.
Yeah.
Like really, yeah. It's really
I would if this was like a comedy.
Yeah.
But I'm trying to be more like a horror film.
Oh no. Okay. Check out a 1953 short by the UPA Studios called "The Telltale Heart" by Edgar Allan Poe.
Okay.
Dude, it's the creepiest animation ever done, and it has no blood. It's just camera angles and artistic choices by the director.
One of my favorite horror movies isn't really a horror movie. It's more like a dark fairy tale. It's called Once Upon a City of Lost Children. City of Lost Children. That movie is dark, like really dark, like Pan's Labyrinth level dark.
Yeah.
And, there's like no blood in it, but it's honestly like one of the most like morbid movies I've seen. So yeah, Mega Art Daniels is like a huge Courage the Cowardly Dog fan.
It's a really great show.
that's what we got for episode 2.
Oh,
I mean, we're working on it. The villain, the actress who did that line, she came back. She was in the first animation. She came back and rocked it. The second one, she's even got more lines, and she does 2 characters instead of 1. So that's really cool. And you know, she, I asked her to scream. You know, I wanted her to like, you know, really scream. You know, and you know, I said, could you do like a louder scream? And she gave me exactly what I asked for. So
check this out. This is the Telltale Heart.
Okay.
And you use like the use of negative space and blacks.
Yeah, black.
Within the, and this was done in 1953.
Yeah, wow.
Right.
That's gonna be my question because this looks like something today.
It looks painted.
Yeah,
like,
it's really painterly.
Painted.
Yeah, really painterly.
And
the
almost
soundtrack
got
is on
kind of
point.
like a Christmas Carol vibe out of that one shot.
Really like pastels and just.
I wanted to do watercolor animation in
dude, that's a nightmare. But yeah.
Yeah. But before we get out of time, I really want to talk about Stringy and Moppy.
Yeah, bro. Let me pull up because you're doing both versions of the book. So go ahead and talk about that. Let me get some of this up here.
Okay, cool.
Screen share. Okay, so the first thing we'll do the inks for Sky Titans.
Yeah, I love drawing pen, obviously, and you know, that's kind of like my skill, my favorite skill, and I I showed off that I could do traditional inks, and I became the full-time inker for the print comic of Rise of the Sky Titans. So this was my first 2 pages, and yeah, I just you know, the penciler has like a very like almost Todd McFarlane style, and I just went like, you know, nitty gritty on it, and that's kind of like, you know, what I wanted to kind of embellish is that like Danny Mickey, Greg Capullo kind of combo, and Mega loves it. Like
love the exaggerations, man.
Yeah,
and also how it's been reinforced by the inking. For example, like as the character is flying towards us, like the thick and thins are following the camera. Like I really enjoy that. Like when I see inking, that's one of the things I'm looking for. Because line quality in animation is different from line quality in comics.
That's why I use a G pen brush in the animation. Why the lines are rough.
Yeah, exactly.
I try to emulate that style, but it's not the same.
Yeah, because then you'll get that. Like if you try to like clean up an animation as you do in comic books, you'll end up with an Ed and Eddie style of like a trembling line.
I've heard that from Mega himself. So yeah.
So this is really interesting. Yeah, I feel like you can see with those lines. I assume when you say the thick and thins, you mean what I would probably call the action lines around the tail and on that.
No, actually, that like how you construct the tail. Like if you see the line that goes to the character that gave the punch is thinner than the line that's coming towards the camera on the same tail. Like that level of attention to detail, because that puts the inking in perspective too. No, it's helping the perspective, and that's one of the things I look for when I'm seeing like inker work. It's like, okay, like is your thick and things paying attention to camera placement, to lighting, to, you know, just like what makes the difference between a professional inker and a guy who just like inks. So very good job, man. Great job.
Thank you very much. That means a ton.
Yeah.
So let me ask you this. I'm going to put up some of the web comic. Can you kind of give us a brief overview of what you and Mega are up to with the webcomic?
Yeah, so you know, he wants the webcomic to be more alternative and raw and you know, a lot more spicy. And he was really into One Punch Man style, where, you know, the webcomic is kind of its own thing from like the mainstream like manga. And you know, he didn't have me do like the print style where, you know, it's very like Marvel and DC style penciling. He just let me go nuts, and you know, he basically let me just, you know, go whatever I came up with, as long as I followed his directing in his scripts, because he's a screenwriter and he comes from a film background. So every shot is like clear and very like laid out. So he wanted a 3/4 shot of the diner with like reference of what type of diner it was. And so, you know, he's meticulous as a writer, and it's great to work with because it's like, it kind of is like easier and harder at the same time. It's like really very precise, but it's also like I have to match that too. And like he wanted me to draw Fleetwood Cadillac, so I had to look up like different Fleetwood Cadillac. And you know, I just kind of like he knows what he's wanting to do, which is just like, you know, Hollywood from the 2000s. And you know, that's kind of the style of the webcomic, is like over the top. I said it's the bastard love child of Spider-Man from 2002 and Blade 2.
Oh, those are good references.
It's got like cool characters who are doing like badass like assassin stuff with guns and gadgets, but it's also like really colorful and like, you know, super easy to look at and stuff like that.
Okay, well, awesome for sure. Definitely keep your eyes out for Where can we find the webcomic? I know the book itself is an
Yeah. Here, I'll link it into our Streamlabs, and then you can
Yes.
kind of
Yeah,
put
do
it
it.
up there. So
No, but I mean, congratulations! Like you're doing awesome work, and I'll be looking forward to what else you come with within animation, comic books. Like,
awesome. Well, I'm going to be doing this for as long as I can, and
you're
you know,
Till
I
dead.
see this happening for the foreseeable future.
Yeah.
So let me give you that link right now.
So I'm gonna die in my computer chair doing this.
I will be the artist cliche. I will drink Starbucks and eat ramen. I will do it.
I mean, actually,
Hey.
there's no need, man. There's no need. Because I mean, I've never been a starving artist, in a sense that when I need money, I animate a tunic or an adult diaper. So and I think you know who Frankie B. Washington is?
Who?
Frankie B. Washington.
No, I don't know him.
Look him up on Twitter and Instagram. Like he's an amazing artist, illustrator. He's a little bit older than me, but he said something that I heard in Spanish. Like money is always out there, and as artists, you're always going to be needed. I mean, wherever you see there's art, it's just not the kind of art you like. Maybe you love drawing robots, for example, but nobody wants a robot. Somebody would like a plate of pancakes.
I know
Sausage
graphic
and
design and logos are always needed. Like
Exactly.
everybody needs a logo, and you know, I talked with Ginge about this, and you know, Fiverr is like a great place to sell
Exactly.
like, you know, corporate art.
Yeah, so keep your options open and see that kind of work as the fuel you need to put into the things you really want to do.
I'm fed. I'm able to do this. It's just like, you know, if I really wanted to, like, you know, make a lot of money, that's definitely the plan. But I'm pretty comfortable with everything right now. Like, we're good.
Really good, man. Really good.
Awesome.
All right, guys, let me hop in here. We're going to wrap the show up, but actually, if you want to come back, I'm talking to the viewers here. If y'all want to come back here in about 40 minutes or so, we're going to be meeting up with our buddy Jake Twister, which it's Jake T. Vister, but it's pronounced Twister. We're going to be drawing here. We'll be hanging out. Everybody's going to be drawing. It's a draw for all. Draw is the law. So, yeah, we're going to be taking a break, but we'll be back here in 40 minutes, and we hope to see y'all then. So thanks for watching, everybody. Our special guest, Rip the Falcon, Pedro.
Yeah.
Later. We will see y'all next time.